Good afternoon, Namaskar, Jai Hind. A warm welcome to all on today's episode of Bhagwaan Rajneesh Untold. I'm your host Shweta Rana and you're watching us on an I'm Live. My guest today is Swami Samudroprem Lake.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir. Warm welcome to you on today's episode.
Hello, Shweta. Hello, everybody. Glad to join you.
So it's a very happy moment for us to have you here with us. I would like to tell my viewers that Swami Samudroprem Lake has been an Osho disciple and he came to Bhagwaan Rajneesh when he was 19 years old. He's the founder of International Academy of Awakening Psychology, a psychotherapist and a meditation facilitator. He joins us today from Turkey. Sir, a very good afternoon to you and a warm welcome once again on today's episode. Sir, you were 19 years old when you came to Bhagwaan.
Yes.
And a very young age. And you traveled all the way from England to Pune just to see him.
Yes.
What brought you to him?
Yes. Well, actually, I was brought up as an English Catholic. My family was Catholic. But at around about the age of 15, I felt not satisfied with that religion. And I started to search for other religions. And actually, I came across Tibetan Buddhism. And actually, I was initiated by Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche. He had come to Manchester. So I was initiated in Tibetan Buddhism, but I only stayed for a few months. And then I decided I felt I just wanted to be an ordinary teenager. I felt it was too young to become a serious meditator, or I felt I should have to become a monk. And I didn't want to be a monk. I just wanted to be a normal teenager. Then a few years later, when I was 19, a close friend of mine had been to some summer festivals in England and had come across the Orange People, as they were called at that time. And so he met them at some music festivals, and they were all dressed in orange, wearing the wooden mala. And then my friend said, although my friend knew that I was not interested in gurus or religions at that time, he said, come on, just listen to one audio tape, one cassette. And as soon as I listened to this audio tape, the words of this Indian person speaking, for me, it was like there was a light coming out of the cassette recorder. I couldn't explain it, but it was just like, I was like, that I got to know more about that. So my friend gave me some books, the Diamond Sutra, Psychology of the Esoteric. And I started to practice Kundalini meditation at home. And then one day my friend phoned me up and said he decided to go to Pune. He wanted to go to India to meet Bhagwan. And I said, okay, I'm also coming. So it was like spontaneous. And I felt like that is my calling. I really had to go. And I remember the first moment I stepped off the plane in Bombay, as it was then, although it was March, very hot, and I was wearing winter clothes from England, I felt, even the heat and the dust, I felt it's like being at home. For the first moment, I felt now I'm at home in India. I always felt like, although I'm English, I always felt like a foreigner. My whole childhood, I felt like I didn't fit into English society. So something inside me recognized India when I felt the atmosphere there. Okay, Sweta.
Okay. You came to Bhagwan when you were 19, and then you decided to take sannyas.
Yes.
How was it for you to take sannyas in that age?
Well, actually, my very first time I saw Bhagwan Osho, I was disappointed because I was expecting something amazing, some colored lights, some great phenomena. And he seemed to be so distant and far away because I was at the end of the hall. But after being there a few weeks, I really felt, yes, this is my master. then I had, perhaps I can call it a spiritual event. In a meditation, I saw a face, and at the time I thought that face was that of the Rinpoche that had initiated me, Dilgo Khyentse. And the face slowly transformed into Osho's face. And I felt the message like, yes, you can go to Bhagwan to be your master. But I always loved the stories and felt it might be true that many of us that were gathering around Bhagwan at that time, that we had been with him in previous lives. And there was that feeling amongst many of us that we're meeting together again after hundreds of years or several lifetimes. So it felt like, and I felt quite a few experiences of deja vu by walking around Corrigan Park. I wondered if my past life was there. So although I'm not 100% sure about it, it was really a feeling of, yes, this man, he's not a man. Can't say Osho's a man or Bhagwan's a man. He's a phenomena. But he's my spiritual master in this life and probably in previous lives as well. And it was like just, coming home. It was like no question that I would become his sannyasin, because that is all I wanted to do. So it's not a logical decision of why to take sannyas. It's just like, it was natural. It was just like, yes, formally I have to ask. I have to go and ask the secretary, yes, I want to have sannyas from Osho. But there was like no question about it from walking in the gate the first day, really. Okay, Shweta?
Yes, this is amazing. What you said is very right. You just decided to go with the flow of what was there at that moment.
Yes.
What were your experiences with him when you took energy, which we call as the Urja Darshan? How did you feel at that moment?
Well, okay, so of course in the sannyas initiation was the first time. Then later when I became, when I was doing volunteer work in the ashram, we had also the volunteer workers could have an energy darshan every 3 months. So I was lucky to get that twice more. So 3 times Osho has put his thumb on my third eye. Now the first time in the sannyas initiation, I would have to say that before that moment, I didn't know what the mind was. I was just, I guess I was the mind, but I wasn't aware of my mind. But there he was just sitting just in front of me. But I felt like I couldn't really focus on what he was telling me, because there were so many thoughts going so loud across my mind. I had the image at that moment is like a stampede of horses. And in that moment, I'm trying to listen to what he's saying, but I felt my mind, these thoughts, were like a barrier between me and him. I had this great expectations, great hopes of being with this amazing enlightened master, and I couldn't 100% absorb him totally. I couldn't be with him 100% because my mind was always commenting on what he was saying. Later, I could understand that this is the phenomena that we say the master is a mirror. He's a mirror of consciousness. He made me aware of my mind for the first time, and that my mind is a barrier between me and the ultimate. But also, he actually surprised me by returning to me my Christian name as my sannyas name. My first sannyas name, he said, was Swami Phil. So Phil was short for Philip, the Christian name my parents give me. And the word Philip means lover of horses from Greek. And so he explained to me that Phil means love. And the strange thing was that when I had the interview with the secretary, when I had the interview to apply for the sannyas, I was asked by the secretary, do I want a new name? And I said, I don't mind, I will leave it up to Bhagwan to decide. I didn't know at the time, but anybody who showed any hesitation, if they said they don't mind or maybe, they would automatically get their old name returned to them. But before that, before I had been to Pune, I had one girlfriend, one deep experience of love. And I remember writing a poem to that girlfriend that my name is love. And I was writing all about what love is. And then I was really shocked when I was sat in front of Osho and he said, your new name is Swami Phil. And then for about 10 minutes, he started to talk to me about what love is. But he said what love is not. It's 99% of the love you have known is not love. It's jealousy, the will to dominate the other, is dependency. So while he was saying these words, I was commenting in my mind, how does he know that? I could feel like he could see inside me deeper than I could see myself. It was like that phenomena of he can see really deep inside my soul, and I've never met him in person. I've never talked to him, but I felt like he knows me absolutely 100%. And maybe I only know myself 50%, even maybe 10%, but he knows me 100%. So that was the first experience. Oh, yes. And then after talking to me for 10 minutes, I was also quite mesmerized by the movements of his hands. It's as if his hands, as they move, they're like glowing with light. And I was like, one moment, wow, just looking at his hands. An interesting moment, I heard his voice say to me very clearly, look into my eyes. But he didn't say it verbally. He was speaking about love verbally with his, normal voice. But another voice, maybe it's a mental voice, came to me and said, look into my eyes. And I had to focus on his eyes. I felt he really wants me to look in his eyes. And it's indescribable, that phenomena. I'll just jump a little bit to another story. Many years later, when I was in Rajneeshpuram, and I was one of the people asked to greet Osho Bhagwan at that time when he was going to an interview. And I hadn't seen him for many years, but I was there just in front of him. And he looked in my eyes for a moment, and some part of me got really scared. Although, why should I be scared of my master? I love him so much. But it was like Osho's eyes are like so intense, so full of love, but also it's as if he's not there. It's like you're looking into the eyes of a dead person, like a corpse, because when you look in my eyes, you can see there's a personality. When I look in your eyes, I see there's somebody. But when you look in Osho's eyes, there's nobody there. It's just emptiness. And that, it just triggered a deep fear in me in that moment. But going back again to Pune 1 days, the other energy darshans were very incredible. Again, my mental expectations were a block. And I remember his thumb rubbing on my third eye. And for the first moment, I felt nothing. And then I could feel he stopped for a second and then pushed harder. And then it was like a burst of light going through my whole body. And similar to the end of the sannyas darshan, that this energy that he was transmitting sort of transported me to a space I've never been before. And I felt after the energy darshan, when I got up, I wasn't really walking, but I was floating. And I felt the way I was walking is just like the way Osho walks. And it's really like he's floating on a cloud. And I felt for an experience, at least for several hours, that I am also Osho, I am that enlightenment also for a while. And immediately after that energy darshan, I actually went to a restaurant, Cafe Bund, at the edge of Corrigan Park. It's gone now. It's knocked down, I think. And I just sat there. I was in a blissful state. And I didn't tell anyone what had happened, that I'd been to energy darshan. But people just came and sat next to me and said, "Can we hold your hand?" And then another person came and another person. And after a while, there's like 10 people just sitting around me wanting to hold my hand. And someone asked me what had happened. I said, "Oh, I'd just come from energy darshan." So it was like that energy of Osho, Bhagwan, I was carrying it with me and I could share it with other people. So it was quite magical events. Many, many, many years later, of course, when Osho stopped giving energy darshans, I could still feel the same phenomena when sitting close to him in the discourses. So, he would give discourse once or twice a day. And in the last 1 or 2 years, when he was speaking very slowly, I could still feel he was transmitting the same energy to us, but now not just through the thumb on the third eye, but he was just transmitting, radiating to all of us at one time. So that's, like now he's gone, physically he's gone. It's not so easy for us to connect to him on an energetic level. We still have his words, his books, we have his meditations. But Osho was much more than that. He was much more than just a photo. He was much more than just books or meditations. The enlightened master is an energy phenomena that's indescribable. And of course, I feel blessed that I experienced it. And he transmitted to me a taste of what enlightenment is about. Okay, Shweta.
Very beautiful. I was mesmerized listening to you. Your experiences have been mesmerizing for my viewers too. I want to ask you this. How different was Pune 1 from Pune 2? How was it different?
Okay. So one of the major things I teach now as a psychologist, psychotherapist, is actually the chakra energy.
Okay.
So I hope many of our viewers are a little bit familiar with the chakra system. So I have this concept that Osho had 3 major communes, what we now call Pune 1, Rajneesh Puram, and Pune 2. After many years, I had this insight that these 3 communes are connected to the 3 pairs of chakras. So the first and second chakra, Muladhara and Svadhisthana, Muladhara, Svadhisthana, they are, we can say they're associated with the colors red and orange. So that I see is very similar to the color robes we wore. Osho, originally the original color of sannyas was orange robes. Then slowly it changed to red. And of course, in Pune 1 days, Osho was famous, or let's say infamous, as the sex guru. So whether that is correct or not correct, that is his reputation. But I would say that my experience of Pune 1, it was very intense energy. And it wasn't really, sex was not the main thing. It was the intimacy. It was people were so close to each other. People would, love to hug and connect. Now, maybe it's more easy for the Western sannyasins. Maybe that's what Western sannyasins were looking for. Some certainly didn't come for enlightenment or meditation. Some did come for just to be in a commune of radical people. Maybe some people did come for sex. That's what they were looking for. But the energy was very intense. And I felt Osho was really working with us on the lower chakras. And that's, he had created dynamic meditation, Kundalini meditation. Then when we shifted to America, so, we can all see in the Netflix Wild Wild Country documentary how much that American experience was about power struggles. A lot of it was struggle of that we had to try and survive as a community in Christian Orthodox atmosphere of America. And so that's when Sheila was in power. So that was a lot of Manipura. That's the third chakra. But what is not in the videos of Wild Wild Country, what people forget was that there was so much heart in America. It's actually better to say that our experience in America was the way of the heart. So that, and I personally, I didn't feel damaged or hurt by what happened in America because I was in a state of total trust to my spiritual master at that time. If he has chosen Sheila, okay, I trust. Whatever happens, happens. So that was really the third and fourth chakras working together as a pair of chakras. When we returned to Pune, what we call the Pune 2 time, from 1987 onwards, or to 1990 when he left, I would say it really is the fifth and sixth chakras, the Shuddha and Ajna. So that's when Osho started really to emphasize meditation. And by this time, I had been sannyasin for 7 years, but I could feel that for the first time, I really understood what meditation was. The first 7 years was just to be with my spiritual master in love, in trust, follow his directions, trusting that whatever he says, I will follow it, it's the right way. But then he really explained, and I understood more clearly, what really is meditation. So this is, and it's also when he began to speak slower, it's much more, his discourses were more mystical. So I felt that was, and also there was a great outpouring of creativity. In the Pune 2 commune, there was the creative arts, the dancing, the theatre, the painting became tremendously popular. So then I would say even that after Osho left the body, I would actually call it Pune 3. That's my term anyway. So then I felt that in order to connect with Osho, the easiest place would be to meditate in his samadhi. So where his ashes are, in what was his bedroom, what was called Changtazu Auditorium. I was sitting there as often as I could. There was several 1-hour meditation slots per day. Then to connect with Osho, then I could feel his vibration was at the 7th chakra or above. Before I could feel Osho more in my heart or at my 6th chakra. Whenever he came to discourse, before he entered the hall, I would have my eyes closed and I could feel the moment he entered, because my heart would expand and my third eye would start to vibrate. But after he left the body, I could feel the same vibration above the head. Yes, Shweta.
That's beautiful. You have described it so beautifully. This is an aspect very few of us would have ever understood.
Yes.
What has been the influence of his meditations on you? What have you learned from him? Your learning.
Yeah. Well, as you might know, Osho's unique in creating active meditations. Of course, as I said before, I was Tibetan Buddhist, and I still love Buddhism. I still feel that's part of my background. And Buddhism really teaches us silent meditation. But as Osho has said himself, that vipassana or silent meditation done alone is automatically repressing, suppressing. So if there's desires, if there's emotions coming up from my subconscious, it disturbs my silent meditation. I cannot watch and witness them. But by practicing the active meditations, we can release our emotions if we need. We can release the tensions from the body. And that makes the silence much easier. So, but also for me, Osho's meditations are very much an energy phenomena. Like now my favorite meditation is running. Or sometimes it's the mandala meditation, or I just run on the street for 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. But by running, I'm activating the legs and the lower chakras, and that gives me insight. I suddenly have an understanding about what's happening in my life. So I find that's also a very important phenomena. It's not just the catharsis or the shaking out of tensions. What's important is the energy phenomena that then brings up spontaneous insights. Yes, Shweta.
You were there when Bhagwan left his body.
Yes.
You were in the commune that time.
Yes.
How was the atmosphere when the news came? What happened? How was it?
Well, yeah, there are so many stories. I could talk several hours just about this one question. Of course, it is a moment that I had been dreading. Although later I remembered that 6 months before Osho had left the body, I had 2 dreams at night, or let's say nightmares, that I woke up in the middle of the night crying because I dreamt that Osho had died. It was such a clear experience that I wrote it down in a diary. And I don't normally keep a diary. But I resolved to myself that if this dream or if this nightmare happened a 3rd time, I would write to Osho to ask him what had happened. Why? What is wrong with me that I'm dreaming that you're going to die? The dream never came again the 3rd time. But when it really happened, when he left the body, it was like, oh, I realized my dreams were preparing me for this moment. But still, it's not really a moment that cannot be prepared for, because the spiritual master is so valuable for oneself. I've been focusing on him perhaps as much, if not more than myself, for all those years. I knew every little white hair of his beard, and he's gone. And of course, he had told us many times that this is a great moment, that when a master leaves the body. So I could say of course, I was crying like many of us were, because we were not ready for him to leave. He had promised, or he said he had tried to stay with us until the year 2000, which would be another 10 years. Although if I remember back, he did say at one time that the American government poisoning had taken 10 years off his life. So he was trying to warn us about that. But that night when we had to carry his body down to the burning ghats, time disappeared. Eventually, so we started to go down at 7 o'clock, and it was at 4 o'clock in the morning that I felt, okay, now I'll go to sleep. But I thought it was maybe 1 o'clock at night. So time had disappeared. But of course, it was also like another. It's a bit like another sannyas initiation, in that I became aware again of what are my barriers, what is still preventing me from my permanent bliss or my state of being an Osho. And I was still in between the thoughts of focusing on Osho. Also, I was like thinking about my girlfriend at the time and what's going on in the relationship. And that was what bothering me. And some of my emotional states were still interfering with, again, this experience of the moment. So it was a terrible moment. It was an amazing moment, incredibly high energy, as if Osho was giving energy darshan to all of us at the same moment, and also a moment of awareness of seeing my own limitations. Okay, Shweta.
You are a psychotherapist and a founder of the International Academy of Awakening Psychology.
Okay,
What
yes.
have been your learnings from him that you have been able to implement in your work as a psychotherapist?
Yeah, so I am inspired to call my work Awakening Psychology as basically a direct translation of Osho's own words. He talked about the psychology of the Buddhas. So if I call it psychology of the Buddhas, people think it's only for Buddhists. So I wanted to try and make it for everybody, that that's psychology is a stepping stone towards meditation. When I first came to Osho, I wasn't interested in therapy. I wanted to meditate. I wanted to be with an enlightened master. But he, at the end of the sannyas initiation, he said to me, do many groups. He wanted me to do many groups because I was so not present. I really needed the strong Western style psychotherapies to get more grounded, to be more present. So now I'm inspired by all that I've learned from Osho, plus what I've learned from my psychology degrees, and I try to formulate it into a system. Chakras is one part of the system. Childhood therapies is another major part. Relationships, intuitive sciences like tarot, numerology, and of course, all of these help us to go towards meditation. So I try to integrate and summarize Osho's major teachings, that we can be Zorba the Buddha, not just a Buddha sitting silently, but Zorba means someone who loves life, someone who can be in relationships, someone who can go to their job or explore their creativity through their business. They can make money, but all that, we can be both. Back when I was a teenager before Osho, I felt it was a choice, either to be spiritual or to be materialistic. But with Osho, I felt I can be both. So now I try to help everybody. But I guess a lot of my work is to help people with their energy experience by working through the chakra system. But then they find out, according to their energetic blockages, they discover it comes from their childhood, their conditioning from their childhood. And so we have to work with family issues as well. And relationships is a major question for many people. And Osho's spoken so wonderful on the path of Tantra and the path of love, that love can be a path to the divine as much as sitting silently meditating. We can melt with our beloved, and we can feel a little glimpse of that divine quality, that spiritual quality, by being with our husband, wife, our beloved. If we can unite from heart to heart, perhaps we can also get a little glimpse of uniting with the cosmos, with the universal energies. So I try to make these psychologies available to different types of people depending on what is their major problem. But after going through the therapies, which helps remove their blockages, helps them understand their mind, but it creates an atmosphere that then they can go into meditation. And I think all Osho therapists, all of us that learn from Osho, we're united with this concept that from Osho that therapy prepares the ground for the seed of meditation. And it's meditation that brings the real transformation. Okay, Shweta.
What are your memories of Bhagwan? Any memories of Bhagwan that you hold close to your heart?
Well, I guess another very important moment for me was when he did answer one of my questions in the discourses, in the lectures. He actually answered two, but one was when he was, I think he was in Bombay, but I was still in England. Another one, the second one was I was in Pune, and I was sitting actually quite close that day. And it was amazing that how he answered my question. But also, just to sit close to him, it was like I was, again, feeling all the light around him. As I tried to say before, Osho is not really a man. He's an energy phenomena. He's a light. And that light was radiating around him all the time. And I was in a sense of awe. I was in a state of wonder. And actually, that was what my question was about at that time. It's in the book, The Razor's Edge. And it's just, Osho he's incredible, infinite light, incredible, infinite love, but he's also very powerful and very, like a Zen master, very tough and direct at the time when he needs to be as well. So, so many memories of him. Those are the ones that come to mind, the energy darshans, and when I've been sitting close to him, of course. Okay, next question.
I want to ask you this. There's a lot of controversy going around today in a lot of things related to Bhagwan.
Yes.
The land, the ashram, the will, the copyright. What would you want to say on this?
Oh my God. There's so much, there's so much going on.
Yes.
Basically, I would think that it's now time for the current management to retire, to pass it on. That this decision to sell part of the property, because of course I understand as well if because of the pandemic there are no visitors, the income's going down, they can't afford to keep it going. It sounds logical, but there are many other arguments, of course, involved in it. But basically, I think the main point is that it's time to move on, to pass it on to somebody else. Because there's now such an incongruence. There's a difference between what Osho says. If people read Osho's books and then they see how his community is run, there's such a contrast. In the books you can see, or in the audios, you can see, he says very clearly that politicians, people in positions of authority need to change after several years. They need to be rotated because power in the hands of one person, of course, he quoted the famous quote, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. But he said it in a new way. A new interpretation was that power doesn't corrupt, but it gives an opportunity for what's hidden in the unconscious to be manifested. Now, I know if I had that job, if it was not Jayesh or Amrito, but if it was me in charge, of course, I'm sure I would make lots of mistakes. I'm sure I also might not make a great success. But I think that now, after 30 years, it's time to move on. And I think for me, it's just one symptom that that they're selling one part of the property. The major problem is that they have not kept up to date. In my last visit to Pune just before the pandemic, in January 2020, I was amazed. Pune city is so vibrant, such a modern city. There are more BMWs than buffaloes. So back in 1980, you know, to move from my bamboo hut to the ashram, I would get a lift on a buffalo cart. Now, you know, now the road is impossible to move across because there's so much traffic, and there are 5-star hotels, and there are restaurants all around. It's, you know, Corrigan Park used to be at the edge of the city. It was like Pune city finishes, Corrigan Park, and then it's countryside. Now it's just right in the heart of the city. The city's grown. And Pune, India has grown so phenomenally and has caught up with the West. Now, I think a lot of Osho sannyasins still believe that India and Indians are lazy and lousy. This, of course, also Osho has said it himself, although he said India is the most amazing country spiritually, but on the material level, it's back in the Middle Ages. Yes, it was in the Middle Ages up till the 1980s, but now it's really 21st century. And there are so many successful businesses in India. I cannot believe that that actually, let me say this, that I felt even now it's called resort, is fallen behind the progress of the rest of Pune city. That it's just now a little meditation center that not many people are interested in. And you know that in the high season, January, there was not more than 400 people there. When Osho was alive, it was minimum 4,000, maybe more. It was jam-packed. So to go from 4,000 to 400, now that, you know, something is wrong. Now, and I think the management needs to open up and see what can they do to stay relevant to modern society. We used to pride ourselves that we are ahead the rest of the world, and it's not only in Pune that's the problem, not only in India that's the problem, it's the rest of the world. Now the world thinks Osho is sex guru, Rolls Royce guru, oh, he was Sheila, wild country. They only think about Osho they don't think about Osho as a teacher of meditation. And in the West, the whole mindfulness phenomena has taken over. Yoga and mindfulness are making meditation popular. And nobody is mentioning Osho as a teacher of meditation. This is not correct. This is way behind the time. We have to do something to change Osho's, the reputation of Osho in the world is not just Rolls Royces. It is about meditation. That was his major message. And the current management have failed. They have been obsessed with suing, taking to court other sannyasins for posting little video clips on YouTube or on Facebook. They're so busy suing other sannyasins in the courts, it's distracted the energy. To sue other sannyasins and to ban his beloveds from entering the ashram for little excuses, very meaningless excuses. To ban people coming in, I have to say it is cancer. If Osho Sangha, and he used that word Sangha, we are a community. We are an organism. If one part of the organism is fighting the other part of the organism, it is cancer. And with cancer, we cannot grow. The symptoms are there. Okay, so I want to say to the present management, okay, great, thank you. You've done the best that you could for 30 years. Now, really, it's time. Let's open up to look for some new ideas. How can we make Osho relevant for the whole world? How can we renew this center in Pune and open it up for whoever loves Osho, that they can go there and spend time and to sit in the energy phenomena that Osho, his energy is there. Thank you, Shweta.
This has been such a beautiful insight that you've given us. I would now request the studio to show some pictures. Sir, can you tell us which picture is this?
Okay, one of those faces right in the middle is a very young me. I think I was about 23 or 24 there. That is from our commune in England, in Suffolk, where I was a resident. We called it Medina Rajneesh. So that was when Osho. That's when Osho was in America, and I was, I was part of the commune in England.
Okay.
Okay, that's me. Just a few weeks maybe after taking sannyas, long hair. So 19, 20 years old at the time, drinking cappuccino. Oh, there's me. I was an assistant to my teacher, Waduda. She's on the far left in the red dress. And that was a course about intuition and chakras.
All right.
That's also me from 1981, just coming back to England after Pune 1, and that's my nephew who's 12 years younger.
You are an orange person in this.
Okay, and that's 1993 when I went to Taiwan to teach, and I'm teaching chakra breathing in that demonstration. And that's me at the silent stage of Mystic Rose meditation, I guess around about 1990. I don't remember exactly this year, maybe 92. All right, so this is with me with one of my trainings, my courses, fourth chakra Anahata course, and that is in Russia. So those one of the larger, like 60 participants. Russians really love this work. And also I go to China. This is in Shandong. That's the second chakra course. So Oh, okay, there I am. That's in Khajuraho in 2009. Yes. And that's the same photo, 1980, with my friend who introduced me to Osho, the one that gave me the first books. And that's me and my beloved when we were visiting Pune in January 2020, my last visit. And that is that moment when Osho has left the body and they're just bringing his body into the Buddha Hall. So, yes. And there I am in Khajuraho again. Of course, although I was in India most of the time I was in India, I spent in Pune. Sometimes I have had a chance to have a tour around India, see some of the magical places in India.
Such lovely memories, such beautiful pictures, and such wonderful insights that you've given us today. I'm very grateful to you for giving us your time and joining in with us and sharing your views so beautifully.
Okay, thank you, Shweta, for giving me this chance. Okay,
it's been
thank
an
you very
honor
much.
and a pleasure for me. Thank you very much, sir, for being our guest. With this, I come to an end of today's episode of Bhagwaan Rajneesh Untold. Good afternoon.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you for listening.